Okay, so I'm going to be talking about some Christmas horror films throughout the month of December, and what better way to start off the month of December with talking about ATM from 2012. And this is a slasher slash survival horror film that takes place all within a one location. We'll just speak on that for a second. I love horror films that take place within a one setting, within a one location, and you don't see much else outside of that because I think it makes for a very good, defined and claustrophobic and suspenseful and creative story in that fact. And that's very much what ATM is. And this probably has one of my favorite executions and endings to a slasher film that I have seen in a long time. I really dug the ending of this movie. To me, there was a lot to enjoy in this movie, and this is a movie that now December has hit. This is a movie I encourage every horror fan to check out because I think this is a phenomenal horror film in that fact. Like obviously, there are problems with it which I will get to. It doesn't go without its flaws, but from a slasher point of view and from a story point of view, I think this movie does its job extremely well. This is a very effective one location film. So yeah, let's get into it. ATM 2012. So I'm going to start off by talking about the positives. And probably the biggest positive of this movie, in fact, is the killer, actually. The killer in this movie, I think, is very interesting because he likes to torture his victims. He likes to watch them. He likes to, stare into their soul. He likes to look at their every move, and he has a very good presence, throughout the film. Like the killer, he doesn't, I guess, play a big part in the film. This is very much a character story because you're seeing everything from the character's point of view, and the killer is more just the cherry on top here. But they're safe. These characters are safe in the ATM, but then if they go out, this killer will be chasing them down and will be killing them. And just like that's the thing I found really interesting about the killer in this movie is there was no hesitation when he was killing his victims. When we actually get to the first kill, of the film, like there's no hesitation there. So like it just makes you think, what has this guy done before? How long has he been doing this? And there's this long page of questions you have. And then when the film gets to its ending, like you find out that the killer is anonymous, that you don't actually see the killer, and it adds like all these other questions on top of the other 20 questions you had throughout the movie, which I was hoping, as I was watching the movie, I was hoping the movie would go that direction where you don't actually know who the killer is, because like I felt that worked really well in Hellfest. Like that movie, like on its own, isn't really that good, but then that ending, I felt it did bring upon some questions. It did bring upon for an interesting sequel if they did, decide to make it. And this is a film that I felt like it worked. It was much more effective, like actually not knowing who the killer is, because the killer, like there's yeah, like it's hard to explain, but when he's killing, like there's no hesitation, so it just makes you think, what has he done? Like this movie, I think would make a very interesting prequel, actually. Just on the killer alone, I think there's a very interesting prequel story to be directed and to be written there that I honestly would love to see in this movie, because yeah, the killer is one of my favorite parts, of this movie. While he's not there a whole lot, like when he is there, he does cause some havoc. He does cause some problems, for these characters. And there is some death in the film, and I'll talk about that. As far as the blood and gore does go in the film, like there is some okay close-up gore, but for the most part, a lot of the kills you see off screen. This isn't a really bloody film, which in this case I'm not too bothered. I'm not too bothered by. Like I do like seeing blood and gore, especially especially practically. Like you see a lot of the aftermath of the kills. Like there's this one cop. There's this one cop in the film in which you see his face, you see the aftermath of his of his kill. And like there's some close up of of stuff being of items being stuck into the characters, but yeah, this isn't really a film that's focused on blood and gore. This is a film focused that's focused on story and characters, which that's the other thing I want to bring up. The characters in this film are extremely unlikable, which that damns me to say, because this is a film that's definitely character driven. And when you have unlikable characters driving a character driven plot here, it doesn't really you never really engage with them. Like towards the end, like you do feel sympathy for them, but the movie doesn't really have a good setup. Doesn't really have a good setup to these characters in the first 20 minutes. Like you learn that that our main character has this crush on one of his workmates, and that this is her last day here before she's going to another job. And really, that's the maximum of characterization you'll learn in this movie, which made it hard to cheer for them when all the slash up elements were going down, when the killer was chasing them. It made it really hard to believe, and this movie came off in that way as a very generic slasher film that doesn't really focus on its characters, since that's what we're seeing for a large 90% of this story and of this runtime. But yeah, you're putting the characters aside, which weren't that good. Like the plot in this movie, I think is extremely good. I think this is a very, while generic plot, there are a lot of twists and turns in this story that I did not expect. There's a lot of twists and turns which I won't go into detail on, because if you haven't seen this movie, I encourage you to watch it. But yeah, there's a lot of twists and turns, as this story proceeds, which I did not expect, which I found myself getting really invested in, and then it has, like an ending that, that left me shocked. Like that left me shocked, that wanting to see, an ATM 2 and ATM 3, which, as far as I know, this is a standalone film, but I think this would make a great sequel, would make a great prequel. This would make a great franchise, actually, if they decided. I don't know how this movie went, box office wise, but yeah, this is a movie that I would love to see a sequel for if they ever decide to make one sometime down the line. And the direction of this movie is extremely good. This is a very intense film. Like there's certain sequences in this film that I was actually I don't usually do this when I watch slash films, but I was actually chewing my fingernails. This film really got to me in certain sequences where where our killer was chasing down one of our characters. And those scenes were very intense in this film, and it made for a really effective film. And so yeah, our killer is very effective for what he does. All of his scenes are lit really well. Which, speaking of that, this film has some great sound design as well. I just want to give props to that. This movie has great sound design. It has great music in it. There's great lighting. This is a film that has a very low budget, and they really use that low budget to really showcase the setting and the lighting and the environment of the film, because this is a very dark film, and there's a lot of other threats going on top of our killer that's outside the doors. They're also freezing to death like every minute. And then there's a couple of other little things that happen towards the ending of the movie. But yeah, I'm not going to get into spoilers. I'm not going to get into spoilers on the ending or or the conclusion of this film. I want you to watch it. I want you to experience it. I want you to have the same shock value that I had watching ATM. So yeah, that's what I think of ATM. I would love to see more of these movies, sometime down the line. If you have seen ATM, let me know down in the comments. What did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you think it was Matt, or did you really not like it? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section down below. So anyways, guys, I hope you have a good rest of your day, evening, or night, wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next video. Alright, bye.